Today, we will conduct our fifth mock draft of the 2025 offseason. How can the Packers extract as much positional value as possible? We will explore that in today's episode.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm cash.
All right, everybody, welcome back into another episode of Sounds Gouda. We're thankful for you being here, whether you're a new or returning listener. My name is Jordan Olson, and my co-host and best friend here is Rob Ralph. We're happy to have you here again. As we alluded to in our intro, this is our fifth mock draft. We've really been enjoying this series, and I think you all have been enjoying it as well, based on the number of comments and interactions we've gotten from you, our views. We're really thankful that you are all appreciating this content. And just remember, we do have new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So just a quick point of pride or side note, but I'm wearing my Broncos gear today. As I record this, or we record this right now, the Western Michigan Broncos are playing in the Frozen Four tonight against Denver. It's going to be a tough game, but if they win, they will be playing in the national championship on the day this episode debuts. So hopefully this ages well. Hopefully my Broncos, my employer, is playing for the national championship on Saturday night, and go Broncos. So
Go Broncos.
yes, heck yes. And I know Rob has some Broncos in his family as well. So,
Yep.
a couple other side notes before we jump into this. We're less than 2 weeks from the draft now. Hard to believe that's going to be the case, but we are finalizing some details of a meetup. I'm going to be there at the draft for sure. How we plan to organize and communicate this. Once we figure out those details on the days leading into the draft and on the draft day, we're going to make some posts on YouTube as well as on our X accounts. So, make sure to check those out for those details. If you're going to be there that weekend, we would love to have as many of our followers come, have a little cocktail hour, talk Packers football. It'll probably be on Friday, so we can have some reaction talk about what happened on opening night. But stay tuned for more details there. And then one more plea or one more thing is that we are still trying to get to 500 subs. We have been working on our big board, our tier board. And as we have promised, we will share that with our community if we reach 500 subscriptions before the NFL draft. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you like the work that we do, please go ahead and do that and help us reach our goal. So we're going to do a 7-round mock. We're always doing 7-round mocks because we're junkies and we like that. This will be our second to last mock. The last one is going to come out the Wednesday before the draft. So that will be kind of our final conclusion. This is what we think or we hope happens. But today we're going to have a little bit more fun. We're going to definitely do some trades and explore some things that will help us maximize our roster. Our priorities really haven't changed. Edge or pass rush, wide receiver, corner, possibly some great offensive line depth. And if you haven't been with us before, Rob and I have a little bit of role playing we do. Today, I'm Brian Gutekunst, so that means that I'm making any final selections in this show. And then Rob will be Matt LaFleur, so he is the guy providing all of the intel on how those draft picks will work out for this team. So, Rob, you got anything to add before we jump in and draft?
Just excited. 2 weeks away. Really grateful for everyone and coming back and taking a listen to us. And we really enjoy doing these episodes and appreciate all the good commentary and engagement that we've been getting from you guys. So we're getting closer, just getting excited, man. So
that's right. Things are really starting to shape up right now. So let's do a mock draft.
Let's do it.
So we're on PFF. We gave you a false promise earlier in the year. We said we were going to use other tools. Rob and I just really haven't found the other tools that we've liked as much this off season. So we're on PFF again. We've got all of our preferences, our settings set right down the middle, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to enter the draft. But before we're going to enter the draft and we're going to see what trade opportunities are available to us when we get to pick 23. Also analyze the players that are on the board. So Let's do it.
All right, you're going.
Mason Graham, number 1 on this one, and Tech McMillan, number 2.
Wow.
So I do know PFF in the last 48 hours did a new update on some things. So we might see a little bit different list or order of these rankings or players today. Interesting. Malachi, I
Yeah.
think that's how you say it. Starks, number 9th player on their board, fell to us. Safety is the last thing that we could possibly need right now.
Yeah.
But we do have 2 wide receivers there that have been on top 30 visits, right? I'm not making that up. And Buka's been to Green Bay as well, right?
Yep. So good options here, but also something the Packers never do.
Yeah. But we're like I said, we're gonna have some fun. Let's see what our trade partners are. So today we're gonna explore the idea of doing something that people won't like on Thursday night of the draft, but trading out of the first round, and really picking up some high value picks on day 2. Looks like our highest trade partner available is the Chicago Bears, pick 39. I'm certainly not directly trading with the Chicago Bears and probably giving them Malachi Starks. So let's get on the phone as the GM and let's make a few other calls. So I kind of want to target, let's just say, the Giants at pick 34, or the Browns at pick 33. I think for today's episode, let's just say the Giants were the ones that were willing to pick up the phone, have this conversation, and I want pick 34 and pick 65 in exchange for 23. You need to select number 34 there as well for them. They say they're not interested, but after some heavy convincing of talking to them about the players that are on the board, we have convinced them. So let's force this trade, and they decided that they're going to give us pick 34 and 65. So we had some great options, but we're trading out, and let's hope our trade board, our big board, holds up well with some players that we're hoping to get. All right, so we now have the second pick
A lot of good.
on day 2. And this couldn't have fell any better for us. So, Rob, Mr. Matt LaFleur, who do you like? What are you thinking here?
Man, Matthew Golden, very, very intriguing right here. Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon too, who we like too is for defensive tackles. I do like Derek Harmon just a little bit more as far as consistency goes. Walter Nolan might have a higher ceiling, but just not as consistent. We know cornerback is not quite as deep for this year's draft class too. So there's going to be a heavy run here in the first and second for sure. So Trey Amos is another one, and we've taken him from before and really, really love what he would bring, some outside versatility to a lot of our inside nickel type of positional versatility that we currently have within the Packers. So I love that. Jaden Higgins. I mean, there's just a bevy of good options.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Higgins down here, I really like. We've talked about him. Let's go down just a little bit and see who else.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of my observation is that we haven't drafted a tackle yet in the first round, which I know is not our biggest need, but I was really hoping that Calvin Banks Jr. was going to be here, or maybe Josh Simmons would have fallen, but it looks like that run on offensive tackle went. But plenty of other positions of need. Oh yeah, it looks like Josh Connerly Jr. went off the board there as well a couple picks ago. Pick 30.
Yep.
Malachi Starks fell to pick 31. So for some reason, everybody's scared off of him in this simulation. All right, so that leaves us with, we still have to address our pass rush. We still could strengthen our corner room, and we want a really fun and exciting wide receiver. I still think the best outcome for us here is Derek Harmon to improve that pass rush. I'm a little worried that we won't have a corner fall to us later until we get to the 3rd or 4th round. But let's see how this plays out. I like Derek Harmon. I think that he brings us the best value to add initial pass rush from the interior. He's a succession plan for Kenny Clark. You good with that, Rob?
Yeah. Nope. Very good. A little bit worried as far as the corners go. So my other pick here that I could argue too is Trey Amos, but I love drafting Derek Harmon. So
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. We picked Trey Amos with our first pick the last time, and I'm taking that into consideration
yep,
because I want to pick somebody different. So
let's
if
do
we
it.
didn't pick Trey Amos last time, I'd probably be selecting him right now. But let's see. Let's pick Derek Harmon and see how this thing works out.
All right.
And I'm going to hope that there's like a Noah Williams and like a Jason Marshall Jr. later in the draft that we can pick. So,
Mhm.
okay. So we do have Benjamin Morrison that fell to us at pick 54, which there's been some injury concerns, but if his medicals check out, I mean, his tape is great. I mean, at one point in time, he was a first round player. Who else do you like, Rob?
Braden Swinson. I like him quite a bit. His pass rush win rate is out of this world. A little bit of concerns with him as far as the run game goes, but very Packersy. Would bring some real good pass rush. But at least from the tea leaves, from what I've been reading, is that they really do believe Lucas Van Ness is going to take that next step this third year. I mean, if you look back on it too, from Rashawn Gary, he was quite the project as well. His first couple of years actually graded out pretty similar to what LVN has his first 2 years. So they take that same trajectory. I'm really thinking that I don't know if they'll take an edge here.
So let's look at two positions because I agree with you right now that I'm not sure that we need to take an edge, although there's a lot of players there that can help us. Let's look at wide receiver. Let's see who's left on the board and where they sit because we've got 3 day 2 picks left. We've got Jalen Royals, which I think we'd all be very happy with as a selection. Trey Harris, I think, would be a nice body to add in round 3, but I don't know that he is a game changer for us right now. Jalen Noel, we like. We've discussed him. Who else is going to be available a little bit later on?
Isaiah Bond, the Packers have brought him in, so that's an option later on.
Still think he's tiny, though. Torrey Horton there later, Pat
Yep.
Bryant.
Yep.
And Dante Thornton Jr. is ranked about 169. So that's what that looks like. We're just kind of setting ourselves up to make a strategy here for later. And let's see what corners we have left on the board. We got Darren Porter, Jacob Parrish. I'm assuming Noel Williams is there. I mean, those are really the guys that are still high on our board. So I'm torn here. Let's go back to the big board. I don't think that there's much left in terms of cornerback. So I think we could look at Benjamin Morrison if we're comfortable with him. I think that, he's been a really good player. We look at Jalen Royals. So I think those are the two players right now at this pick that give us the most value, that I'm worried that we're going to run out of those little higher tier players later on. So
Yeah, I'm liking the Benjamin Morrison one here. Otherwise, if you did want to wait on corner, I love Noel Williams as my favorite kind of day 3 pick. But I assume that he'll be around in round 3, round 4. Round 4 is typically where I have been taking him, but I know he's been jumping up the board quite a bit. But
I'm as comfortable with waiting on corner, like if we can get Noel Williams in the next round. I'm worried about wide receiver. Let's take Jalen Royals as an option. We know we haven't done much there with only adding Michael Williams at this point in time, or McCole Hardman. Sorry.
yep.
Let's get Jalen Royals,
Let's do it.
and then we've still got one more round 2 selection. Got some underwhelming in terms of athletic edge rushers there. Jack Sawyer's got short arms. Jared Ivey had a really terrible RAS. I know we've drafted in the past, but this information that we get is ever changing right now. Jared Ivey's probably a player we're not going to draft. We haven't taken defensive interior yet. I'm intrigued by Kyle Kennard, CJ West, Alfred Collins. Um, I like all of those players here.
CJ
What do you
West,
think?
CJ West, I'm liking the best so far. Him and Alfred Collins look like they're pretty mano as far as rank goes for PFF and their board.
So from a nose tackle interior lineman perspective, we need two things, right? We need a run stuffer to replace TJ Slayton, and we hope to get some more interior pass rush. So let's just open those two players up, refresh ourselves on how those players rated out in the last year. CJ West, his biggest knock, he's a little short, but I mean, outstanding run defender at nearly 90%, 88.1 according to PFF, and had over a 10% pass rush win rate. After he did transfer from a smaller school to Indiana, he played against great competition. I think he's a great option for us. Open up Alfred Collins once. And the Packers were at Texas Pro Day as well, so they got a pretty good look at him.
And a really long. He's a very long defensive tackle.
He brings less pass rush than CJ West. Now, he's probably, I mean, I guess I can't say consistently playing higher level of competition, but he ended up playing in some bigger games late in the season. But he is also an excellent run defender. Rob, I'm going to let you make the call on this. I want to take one of these guys. Who do you like better, CJ West or Alfred Collins?
At least for our big board and mine personally, I would take CJ West here is what I would advise Brian Gutekunst.
I'm in agreement. Let's draft CJ West. It's also the higher rated player according to PFF at this point in time.
Yep.
So we've kind of double dipped and adding Derek Harmon and CJ West at this point in time. So we definitely don't need to address our defensive interior or defensive line anymore at this point in time. And we've added a good wide receiver and Jalen Royals. Couple guys that I'm intrigued by here at 87, Chris Paul Jr. And we've talked about the concept of really improving our linebacker room, maybe having a succession plan for Quay Walker if we let him out of our clutches after this year if he underperforms. Is it Jonah Savalia from Arizona?
Yeah.
We recently did our offensive line deep dive, and he was a green tier player for us. Wyatt Millum. We haven't addressed our offensive line, and I think that this is a great place for us to do it.
Agreed. So out of Jonah, I'm not even going to say his last name, but out of Jonah and Wyatt, who do you like better?
Well, in our exercise, Jonah Savaiania was a green tier player for us. He met all of our criteria. Needs a little bit of work in a gap blocking scheme, but I hope that Stenovich can coach him up. Wyatt Millum, we really love Wyatt Millum, but he was a gold tier prospect for us. So let's trust our board and our process, and let's draft Jonah. He was Jordan Morgan's teammate, so my guess is that Sam Seal and the Packers know a lot about Jonah at this point in time. Let's draft him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why our Packers threshold guide is so important for us, and same for the Packers too, right? Like they're going to go completely by their board. So
hey, before you do that, Rob, though, all right. So this was our other curveball of the episode. We're going to draft Jonah Savainia, but as we can see here, as we can't see here, but go to the cornerback room really quick. What's available at corner? This is less for us, and there's still some options here.
yeah.
So, but I think that these are all clearly second level options. We're comfortable with Noel Williams. We're comfortable with Jacob Parrish, but they're not clearly your frontline starters. So I've come to the conclusion that Jaire Alexander, if he's not going to be a Packer, and if they are able to trade him, it's going to happen on the draft, and it's going to happen around this time. It's going to happen at the back end of day 3 or going into day 4, because otherwise we're really talking about getting a 6th rounder, a 5th rounder for him. If we have any value left that we're going to get, we're going to somebody's going to pick up the phone and they're going to call and they're going to trade for Jaire Alexander. There's been a lot of connection to the Jacksonville Jaguars and them having interest. Obviously, they'd like other Packers secondary players we've drafted. So let's say that we're simultaneously, as we're working to make this pick, Goody gives the card to the person who's going to turn that in. He's going to get on the phone with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the pick right after this pick 88, I believe. So let's select the team to trade with. We're going to get pick 88, which is a bonus pick that they got from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Scroll down, Rob. And we're going to give them Jaire Alexander because they think you got to go to the Packers side of things there.
Oops, yep. Sorry. Packers. There we go.
And we're going to select Jaire. Oh, yeah, the trade will likely be accepted. They like the trade. We're going to get a third-round draft pick back for Jaire Alexander, which I think at this point in time is the best-case scenario. The Jaguars don't have any of those corners that they love as a true outside guy left on their board. They're going to make this, and we're going to have back-to-back picks at 87. So we're going to turn our card in for Jonas Savaiya, and we're going to have another selection right away. So this will be fun.
All right, let's do it. All right, back-to-back. Gotta love it.
All right, let's go back and let's get Jonah. But really, I mean, we could take any two players right now. It doesn't matter because we've got the next two picks, but we've already turned in our card for Jonah, so he's pick 87. And now what else do we need? We've got an offensive lineman. We're really good at defensive tackle. We've got our wide receiver. So we could continue to strengthen our offensive line and take a guy like Wyatt Millum, who might, profile to be more of a guard anyways. Or we could go back to that concept of taking Chris Paul Jr. and really strengthening that linebacker room. Citizens' decisions, right?
Yeah, this is why Goody gets paid the big bucks.
I want my linebacker, I think. He's really highly rated on the board. He's still left there. I think that he can play, Sam in this defense. Open his profile once. Great against the run. Go to his first look. What is his height and weight height and weight again? I think that he's like 6'1", 235.
Yep.
22 years old. Sounds like he could still add some mass to his frame, but explosive and rarely misses tackles.
We like that.
So we took a third-rounder flyer last year on Tyron Hopper, and I think this is much more of a sure thing than the Tyron Hopper pick at this selection. So let's add Chris Paul Jr. to this defense.
Two great picks back-to-back.
Now we're hoping that Noel Williams is still there.
Yes. Yep.
124. And if he is,
you read my
we're
mind.
not going to have a lot of discussion at this pick. Jacob Parrish is still there.
Yep.
Noel Williams, I think, is ranked. He went.
That's the game you play.
Yeah. Jacob Parrish, we really like still. Let's just see who else is available in this range for us. Byron Sorrell. So if we still wanted to add edge, I like that. Jack Kaiser, we already added linebacker. Torrey Horton. We already got a guy who probably profiles somewhat similar to Torrey Horton also, although, Torrey's a little taller. We got Jalen Royals. So let's go back. I think Jacob Parrish is really my last corner in this tier. And then I think things really fall off. So he's not as tall as we'd like, but I think he can play some outside. He can play inside. And I was really hearing the other day that the Packers, Hafley actually wants to have more versatility with his corners. He doesn't necessarily want true outside and inside guys. And I think Parrish is a really good fit for that.
Yeah, and if you put on his tape too, man, that kid can absolutely ball and is a really, really good tackler and a willing tackler too. So love this pick here.
So if we wanted to hedge our bets and double depth at wide receiver, I think that we're going to have to, and the only thing that we truthfully need now, because Jalen Royals, I think, has the ability to be that possession Romeo Doubs replacement next year, but maybe doesn't have that true straight line down the field speed. I think you know who I'm going for. I'm hunting for Dante Thornton Jr. at this point in time.
Here he is. And he'll most likely be gone.
He will not be there at pick 198. But that gives us two guys to come in and compete. It potentially gives us, with Jalen Royals and Dante Thornton Jr., it gives us a Christian Watson and a Romeo Doubs replacement going into next year to pair with Wicks and Reed. I think it's not only good in terms of process for this year because we have competition and we have a downfield threat, but it's also really good for 2026 when we may have to watch some wide receivers walk away from the Green Bay Packers, or the Packers decide to walk away from them.
Yeah, only 2 drops too. And he's very, very fast and very tall. 214, 6'5", runs a 4.3, right? So,
And the other thing I heard the other day is if you think about the Packers deep threats that they've drafted in the last like 10, 15 years, they're all on the taller side, whether it be Christian Watson, MVS. I think he really meets that profile. So let's select him.
yeah, let's do it.
Quick recap on where we're at, Rob. Let's look at the players that we've drafted so we can make sure that our process is good for our remaining picks here.
Yeah, just a second.
Once it lets us. So we've got defensive interior addressed with Derek Harmon and CJ West. We have wide receiver addressed by double dipping there between Jalen Royals and Dante Thornton Jr. We've taken one great offensive tackle to add to this room, so we probably feel comfortable there, although we'd probably still like to add one late. Linebacker room is great. I still wouldn't mind adding one more corner for competition.
Mm-hmm.
And we could add an edge player. Like we said, LVN is probably, they really hope he's going to make an impact. But Kingsley Enagbare is also a free agent after this year, so we could take a project guy and see what he looks like. So I think right now we should be looking for corner depth. We should be looking at, potentially edge depth and offensive tackle depth at this point in the draft. I do really like Jalen Connors as well. So we still need a blocking tight end, and I think that we haven't done that episode yet. But Jalen Connors this is a little sneak preview. He's one of our only green tier players at that position. Open him up once. He has an outstanding run block grade, and
yeah,
he's one of the only good run blockers at tight end in this draft. Had decent production receiving wise, 320 yards and 5 touchdowns. Let's look at his height and weight quick. Or 265, so he's a little bit bigger body. And I'm not gonna lie, what do you think about Jalen Connors right here, Rob?
Yeah, I love it. Especially with the wild card that we have in Luke Musgrave, will be a great inline blocker too. I think he fits in real well and gives some other options that you could do with Tucker Kraft too, as kind of like a little bit of a chess piece as well. So.
And in the 6th round, this is great value for, if he never becomes anything more than a great blocking tight end with a little pass catching upside, this is a perfect place to draft him.
All right, so we're taking Jalen Conyers at pick 205, or excuse me, pick 198.
So after we select him, I have one player I want to target and then one position I want to target. I want to see if Jason Marshall Jr., a true outside corner from Florida, is still available to us. And I don't know if he will be, but if he is, I want to draft him.
Yep, look at that.
He's there. If you've listened to our cornerback episode, he is a green tier player for us. He is a guy that can play outside, open up his profile once.
Yep. This is really good value.
Yeah. I doubt that he's going to be there in the 7th round, but he's great against man coverage. He doesn't have the best ball production, but I think he's a player that I like a lot in this value. 6'1", 201, so he has the size to play outside as well.
Yep. And sticking true to our big board, we'll go ahead and draft Jason Marshall.
And then I think we just need to add one more big ugly to that offensive line room. Mm-hmm. So let's look at some offensive line depth at this point in time. So you might as well just filter to offensive tackle because that's what I'm looking for. And we've got some great options. We got Trey Wettig, Carson Vinson, let's look at our big board and see. So at this point in time, our two green tier players that are left for us are Dalton Cooper and Caleb Rogers. Now, Caleb Rogers, I don't think is as highly rated by PFF. I don't even see him on their big board
Nope,
here.
he's gone.
But Dalton Cooper is there. And Dalton Cooper was also in Green Bay for a top 30 visit
Yes, he was.
earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
So this is exactly the type of move the Packers would make, a player that meets all of their thresholds, excellent pass blocker, was in for a top 30 visit. They clearly have interest. 6'7", 315. He's a little tall, but again, in the 7th round, they're going to bend on their height and weight a little bit.
Yep.
Has a ton of experience too. And he only gave up 3 sacks in 2 years starting, so
Real good. Let's do it. Took Dalton Cooper with our last pick at 250.
So Rob, give us the rundown, your thoughts, and let's wrap this up for our viewers.
Let's do it. All right.
They wanted us to take Landon Jackson instead of Jalen Royals, and you know what? Landon Jackson is like a blue chip, edge prospect. That's a green tier player for the Packers too. So by process, if we did that and just got Dante Thornton Jr. in the 5th round, I think where we selected him, we'd probably be fine too. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, so for round 1, we made a trade back with the New York Giants. I picked up the phone call, forced that trade. We ended up getting Derek Harmon with technically our first pick in round 2. So the next round 2 pick, 54, we got the stud Jalen Royals on Senior Bowl standout. Round 3, pick 65, we got CJ West. So we were able to get some really good value here as far as interior goes. Good pass rush, good run stuff ability too as well with Derek Harmon and CJ West. So absolutely love that. Then we're able to go back and get one of our other green tier players for Jonas Savania. Hopefully we are saying that right. But with that though too, we also made a pick with a very cornerback needy team in the Jaguars, and they ended up getting Jaire Alexander. We got the next pick, an 88, which we were able to shore up and get a really good linebacker and get Chris Paul Jr. here. So that was awesome back-to-back picks. Then we added in some cornerback depth and getting Jacob Parrish, which they really liked with 124. Round 5, pick 159. Got the speedster and somebody that can really definitely stretch the field. I can say that about him pretty confidently. Very tall, and Dante Thornton Jr. Love him as a possible, Christian Watson replacement, at least until Watson can get back, maybe week 13, week 14. Who knows? Some people heal quicker from those injuries. Then we got a good inline blocker and one of our shameless plug coming up on our tight end deep dive series and Jalen Conyers out of Texas Tech with pick 198. And then round 7, somebody who was recently in for a top 30 visit, but somebody that definitely meets the Packers thresholds. And if you want to go ahead, again, take a shameless plug and check out our cornerback deep dive series. But Jason Marshall Jr. hit our green tier and was obviously reflected here for an A- for us from PFF. And then again, too, check out our offensive tackle deep dive series, but again, in our green tier, and really, really good value here to get Dalton Cooper again and round it out for us for this draft. So
I feel good. I mean, obviously, I think the critics are going to say you guys did not draft an edge rusher. It was not touched, and you double dipped in the defensive interior. That's going to be a full room. My 2 responses to that are, between Derek Harmon and CJ West, I think we're going to get a lot more pass rush from the front 4.
Yep.
He loves LVN. He doesn't want to push him out of an opportunity to try to really hit a big jump in year 3. So he's going to give him those snaps, and we still feel good with Kingsley Enagbare there. So, love it, hate it. If you really think that we need an edge rusher, then you're definitely going to be critical of this.
Well, we appreciate it, Packers fans. Thank you, as always, for coming back and taking a listen to us. We do have new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so please make sure to check it out. Let us know what you thought of this draft. What did you like? What didn't you like? Or maybe there was a certain player there that you really wanted us to draft that maybe we didn't take. Again, we tried to go by our Packers threshold guide that we've been working very hard at putting together too as well, which kind of molded out this draft, which we really love. But again, just let us know what you think. Jordan and I are both on the socials. I am at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's. Jordan is at Olson Jord. You can find that below here on the banner. And as always, Packers fans, we hope that you have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. Take care. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack.
Been wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay.